Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. Today I'm gonna be showing you the super awesome pumpkin and melon farm. It's really fast. So here's just the pumpkins and melons, and it's also super cheap. If you use so many powered rails, you need less than an iron for a single plant, because the standard design that doesn't work on Bedrock Edition uses one piston per plant. And it also has produced quite a lot, and you can also turn it off. It's super easy to build. So first of all, this farm can't just build in any rotation, so it's a bit directional, but you can still turn it. So you need to find out in which direction those plants grow. So the pumpkins and melons, I've planted here some, so you would just have to place here in a plus shape a bit of dirt with water around, and then in the middle just a field, place a melon or pumpkin seed, bone meal it until it's grown, and then wait for a plant to grow. And that's the direction you need. It's very important to get this direction, otherwise the farm wouldn't work that good. So now that we have the direction, so we know the plants grow in that direction, you don't have to look the direction, you can just test it. It's super easy. Now that we know it, we're gonna need it later. But now we're gonna start with the minecart unloader. It's very important. So this is gonna be the output for the entire farm. You can turn it. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is it's for the orientation of the field. That's the only thing you can't turn, but it's not a problem at all. So you can have it facing that way or that way. That's the only thing that really matters, but making it possible in that way or that way wouldn't be as compact. It's very important. So now you have here the double chest with a hopper on top. This is gonna be our output here, a powered rail, a normal rail, and now here's gonna be for the hopper minecart the rails to drive. Gonna be like this. Those we're gonna build later. And now we need here a comparator. Here we're gonna need it here to test if there's an output. Place a block, a sticky piston, an observer, a repeater on 4 ticks, it's important, and place here a block. So now if a hopper minecart comes, like this one, nothing would happen here, but I should maybe power those rails here. If it now comes, nothing would happen, but if I would just put in those 2 redstone torches, it activates this comparator, the hopper, which activates this piston to push up the observer, and this observer would now do nothing. But as soon as there are no items left, the observer goes down, sends a pulse here, and then it's activated. If you would build this in Java Edition, it could happen that the observer would be dropped to this position, but it doesn't matter because this farm is running on a clock anyway, so you don't have to worry about that on Java Edition. So it's not a problem with this farm. Now here's the off switch, just super simple. Here a block with redstone behind the lever, on top of it or at the side. So this is deactivated because the piston can't be deactivated because of this redstone line, so it wouldn't work. Now we're gonna build the farm. So for that we need here a rail line. Here we need a rail line, so it's always a 6 long module. It's 6 by 2, but you can also just place them next to each other like I did here, so it's also super compact. You can use nearly all of the space. The only space you're not allowed to use is at some point you would need there a water source. That's just for watering the plants, and it's running on a super simple clock that can't break. So now we need here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but another thing is how you could save another rail is just by doing this by doing this like it's this way, but oh wait, the rail connects the wrong way. Just do this. This helps. Just first connect the rail you want to send the minecart off in the direction, and then the other. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But the 6th block is a rail to go in the other direction. I'm now just gonna build the small version, but you can just build a big version if you want to, with 2 next to each other. It's super simple. You just have to put it over by 1. You just have to it just has to be 1 block difference. Or you can just use, instead of slime, honey blocks, and switch between those. But honey blocks are just super cheap. You can farm them so easy with my honey farm I've built. So now here we need a torch, a redstone torch, or just power this with a lever from beneath. Doesn't matter, the torch is just easier. Now we need, for each module, we need 2 blocks, so 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. And the 6th block is now gonna face the other direction, but to power those blocks, I'm just gonna now build here some blocks. For survival mode, if you don't have that much gold, you don't have to use that much gold. It's just, you can also just use some gold. So would be a rail. Here would be the next powered rail, and there's the last one. So that would also be enough, and then connected with rails. But you need less iron if you use as much powered rails as possible. So you need nearly no iron for this if you use all of the powered rails. Now we need here the dirt on top of every block. It's important to place at the side there some water sources. So we're just gonna take now a stair and a water bucket. So a stairs, I'm just gonna place here a stair with 2 blocks at the side. Can be any block that prevents water from flowing. At this side and also at the other side. It's important to do it on both sides because the water only goes 4 blocks in each direction from the water source. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and from here it would go those 4 blocks up and in that direction, but it wouldn't be enough for the rest of the field. It just makes it twice as fast, so it's really worth it. And now here's the important part. This part can be rotated as you want, but the next part is a really important part. For that we really need the orientation. So we see that it grows in that direction, so we're gonna start at the opposite side. So we're gonna start here with the fields. The next row here, here. So that's really important because the plants are always now trying. The plant here is trying to grow on that block. On Bedrock Edition, for Java Edition it doesn't really matter. For Java Edition you can just build it as you want, because on Java Edition it's not really like that. But for Bedrock Edition it's really important to do it this way. It's just much more efficient with this way. Now I'm trying to place here some glass around. You can also just use any block here. Any block that keeps the items inside. It's very important. I'm just using glass, it looks nicer. And now for everyone who wants to keep the last few items inside, you can also place just some terracotta, some glazed terracotta, or just any non-movable block on top of here to prevent the items from going on the glass blocks there. It can happen, but it's really unlikely. And now you need here some fence gates. Just place them here on those rows where the plant will grow. It's important to. You could also use trapdoors at the top side of the blocks. That would also work. I just prefer the fence gates. Now you have to open them all, like this. Now you need the honey blocks and place them just on top, like here. And now we're gonna build the pistons. So for the simple version, you can just for the version with one module, you can just build here just a few pistons. I'm just gonna get a few temporary blocks here. So now you can build here a piston on top of those honey blocks, because we need to grab the honey blocks with the pistons. And now just here a block and there a block. Oops. Now, have I placed here something? Yeah, the glazed terracotta there has to go. Now just place some redstone on top. This is for activating it. Now you could just bone meal all of those plants and let them grow. But now we're going to focus on the clock. So we need a clock to run this. It's very important. So the clock starts here. We need here an observer. Yeah, we need here an observer. It's important to place here a downwards facing observer. Here 2 blocks. For Java Edition, you would have to somehow fit in there a repeater. So for Java Edition, you really need a repeater, so it doesn't pulse here, so it doesn't drop the blocks there. Now we need here a block. You can remove those now. Now we need here another block, block, but this is a temporary block because we now get here a hopper and a second hopper. Get here a block. Place here 2 redstone on top. It just activated now. Now we need 2 redstone torches. Place it here and here. Here I mean. Now we need a comparator facing this direction. And now we have to fill in the first hopper with a stack of blocks. So 64 or 16 if you want to have it faster, but for 16 you would have to use snowballs or something like that. It's just for a faster clock. You can also use that, and now you just have to get 4 other non-stackable garbage items like this. And now you see, they're running to the other side. And you just have to wait now. Shouldn't take too long. And you see just the torch switched. The observer detected it and activated it. That's now for the clock. This would make sure that the Hopper minecart is always launched as it harvests. And now you could just get another observer, attach it to this comparator there. Get a few blocks. Be careful to not place any blocks too close to the piston there, otherwise the honey blocks would grab that. Now here redstone line, and now the farm is nearly ready. I have to bone meal it now, because the Hopper minecart is already running here. It arrives at the station, and now it's launched again. So it's always launching. That's the cool part. It's 100% automated. This clock also won't break if you leave the chunk. And to deactivate it, because a Hopper minecart could get stuck somewhere, just deactivate it like this, and then the Hopper minecart will stay at the station. It can't be launched then, because the observer is the observer at the sticky piston is the only thing that can launch this Hopper minecart, and if you just have this piston powered there, it would never activate. So that's super cool. And it's also really useful for making bone meal or something else. If you for this farm, or if you need pumpkins or melons for decoration or something else. Maybe, oh yeah, the trapdoor, the fence gates. You have to keep them open. Yeah, it just activated, and it harvests all of them, all of the pumpkins and melons that grow. So I can just speed up the random tick speed. Oh, you just see here a few melons. Shouldn't take too long for the Hopper minecart to pick them up. Oh yeah, I deactivated the Hopper minecart. That's the reason why it didn't get picked up. Yeah, and now it's got picked up. It got automatically, and then it got launched again as it was empty. And now we already have 7 melon slices here from this farm. So it's also really fast as soon as it's working. And if you want to also have it active at night, just get some glowstone or sea lanterns and place them here at the side. Just like this. Here, then most of it should also work at night. So here's now the Hopper Minecart loader. I just want to show it you. It's just super simple. It's also really cheap. It's not the fastest version, but it's a really good version that you can also just easily turn off. Now, I need to launch this minecart. That's why we have here at the piston a lever just to power it, and now I could just throw in something on the rails here, like just those sea lanterns. And now if we would launch this minecart here, it would drive the rail line, come back, pick up the items, and now as you see here, this comparator activates because here are items coming through, powering the piston. And as I already said, as soon as it deactivates, the observer signal gets longer by this repeater. It gets an output in the block which powers this powered rail, which gives the Hopper Minecart enough time to drive off from the rail. And this is so simple and working. And now we already have the stack. It's only working at normal hopper speed, but it's really compact. So you could say, and it's also one wide tileable. That's another cool fact about it. So it's one wide tileable. So the next version of it you could also just have now trying to shift in air. Oh, what happened there? I placed the hopper there in air and also weird ghost blocks. But you could also now build here the next version. So here a rail, here's some powered rails. Here a rail, and now just for the ends this. It's a one wide tileable, and that's the cool thing about it. I wanted to just make one wide tileable working version. Or the thing was, I wanted to make a working version, and then it accidentally was one wide tileable because it was trying to make it without redstone. And now here I would have the next one next to each other. Yeah, that's a problem on Bedrock Edition with the minecarts. They don't really have the correct hitbox. And now if I would activate it now here from the back, now it would pick up here the items, and oh yeah, this is a mistake I made here. The minecart would never launch, but for Java Edition players it would just be annoying. So you have to make sure you place under this here another chest under this hopper, otherwise it would just have a pulse. So the observer wouldn't have time to power this, but on Java Edition would switch from the top to bottom all the time. So that would be really annoying. And yeah, we just put before all the blocks in here. Very important, something very important about this farm. This farm can't break when logging off or unloading chunks. The clock is running the entire time, but this is a fail-safe clock. And also the worst thing that could happen is that those blocks are at the bottom, but with the next clock cycle it fixes everything. So the clock here is undestroyable, and that's fixing everything if anything breaks. So you just have to wait for everything to. If you build everything correct, it should fix itself if there's something wrong. So if the blocks are just stuck at the bottom, they're gonna be picked up at the next cycle. The only thing that you have to be careful about is this hopper clock. If this breaks, the system fails. It's very important. And also to fill in entire stacks, so this is very important. Yeah, in the large version I just use a stack of cobblestone. It's important to fill this up completely because this comparator can only deactivate the torch at the signal strength 15. Because it's 15 from the input here, so the 15 is stronger than the 14 or less, but as soon as it reaches 15, the 15 from there is the same as this, so it lets the signal pass through to deactivate the torch, and then it activates this torch to power this block here, but this isn't powered, so it can put the items in here, and as soon as this as the hopper at the front is empty, this comparator deactivates, the torch activates, those two redstone get powered, this block here gets powered, blocking that hopper, but the torch behind deactivates, which can't block this hopper there anymore. So here I am now in my survival world. This is also working very good. So I've built exactly the same farm, except for the minecart unloader. I just used here some hoppers at the bottom. It's hard to see, but there is just a row of hoppers to get the items, because it's a small farm and I don't really care about that much. And also the hopper minecart unloader I discovered after I built it in the survival world. But the clock and the pistons is here also the same. So I just use here the pistons and the hopper clock. So it's really fast and cheap. It's so simple to build. Oh yeah, I have to fix that. I forgot to place some dirt, but it's so cool. So it's also really good for survival mode, because you need only 0 piston, so 1 iron for 6 plants. And then you would also need at the bottom a few rails, but it's less than 6 iron per row. So you need less than an iron per row. That's the good part about it. And also you only need, here's the single observer if you don't go for the hopper minecart unloader. But with the hopper minecart unloader you only need 3 observers, and that's nothing. And also those 3 observers are not for a single module, they are for all modules. So this hopper clock is for all modules. The hopper minecart loader also, as a hopper minecart unloader. So the only thing that gets more expensive per module is the amount of rails you need, the amount of dirt here, the amount of honey blocks. But with the honey farm you can just farm a ton of them. I have about 3 stacks or something like that. Way too many. So it's nothing. And also wood is also not too hard to farm if you use the giant spruce trees. And it's just so cool for survival also. Yay, some melon slices now I can eat. It's also so fast. I just collected that in a few hours or something like that. But mostly I just changed some stuff here in this farm in about 1 hour or two. But I was changing the whole time something here. Before I had more rails than necessary, so I just destroyed that and built it again. So it's really efficient. So I wouldn't recommend building this too large, or at least when building it too large, I wouldn't recommend doing it this way, like I did it here, just powering every piston at the same time. Wouldn't recommend it anyone. So you would have to put in somewhere between repeaters, but it's important you have to place those repeaters on top of the pistons. So just some 1-tick repeaters or 2-tick repeaters, doesn't matter, that you have a bit of delay there. So now you see it didn't lag that much. And now it shouldn't be lagging at all if it's now activating. Here. It should activate any moment. How long did it take? Yeah, it's nearly full, this hopper. And we get a nice piston wave. And it's also now it's nearly not lagging at all. And it's just crazy how much we have here already. And the hopper minecart gets at least a stack of melon slices when driving once in this giant farm. It's 4 times 9 modules. So it's 4 rows with 9 modules each. So it's super good. And with those powered rails down there, you nearly don't need any or any iron. You need it's just nothing of iron that you need, and also the redstone is just minimal. This is redstone at the top here. This few redstone there, and that was it. Yeah, and the gold rails, but those powered rails, but they don't really count. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Please like this video, write a comment down below, or subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching.